This meeting is for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Yasmine R. will be sharing on steps 1 and 2 for 50 minutes. This is Yasmine's second time speaking at the Broken Elevator, and we are absolutely delighted to have her back with us at God's meeting. Please help me give a warm welcome to Yasmine R. from Paris, California. Her home group is Recovery in the Desert. Over to you, Yasmine.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful meeting. And I am like really looking at myself, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hit gallery. Thank you, God. My name's Yasmine and I'm a real alcoholic. And I gotta thank God for my life today. You know, I gotta thank God for my life today and for God waking me up. Because as a result of alcoholism, someone took their last drink. And they died. You know, we call it in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, going to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, and ultimately death. So I got to thank my higher power of my own understanding that I have found through the 12 steps of recovery, as outlined. The 12 steps of recovery is outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's given me a design for living today and a purpose, a life of purpose today. My sobriety date is 3/23/2017. And I say that not to put a feather in my hat and call myself Yankee Doodle. It's because God chose that date for me. He came in between the idea of me drinking one more time. And he rescued me, my God of my own understanding. I am not a guru. I am not an expert of alcoholism. I am not board certified anything. I am a real alcoholic. And I came into these rooms seamlessly hopeless, state of mind, body, and spirit. What does that mean? That means I wanted to stop, but I could not on my own. No human being could ever save me. That's based on my experiences and working the 12 steps as outlined by a qualified teacher, which is a sponsor who's properly armed with facts about themselves. And because of that, I have been recreated in the image of God. And I sit here before you to share my experience, strength, and hope. And the best way that I can. Thank you, Tamara. I will be and remain respectful of the third tradition of Alcoholics Anonymous that welcomes anybody today that has a desire to stop drinking. And because of that third tradition, my life has been spared. The fellowship of AA helped save my life. I am a member of Cocaine Anonymous. We work out of the same book. It's still our basic text, and we got the same solution. So I welcome anyone that's new to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, that you are welcome here. And we have found a way out. If you don't ever want to drink again, you don't ever have to leave this meeting and drink again. That's a fact. Rarely have we seen a person fail that has thoroughly followed our path. And thank God for God being so bigger than me. You know, he's so bigger than me. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to cover and go on this journey with you guys through steps 1 and 2. And I'm so grateful for tomorrow's instructions, right? Because today I'm teachable. Today I can look at an email from a sister in AA and look at follow a few simple directions, right? The big book talks about rules, but my sponsor, who was sponsored by another woman, had me break down what rules meant. And that just means simple instructions. Because you tell an alcoholic like me about rules and I want to break them right away because I'm undisciplined and I'm full of a head, full of a bunch of information by misinformed people and environmental situations that led me to either fight or flight. So I've been sick for a very long time. I'd like to also open up with something that I've never done, but I find it very powerful because I asked God to please lay aside everything to this day, everything I think I know about the disease, the program, the process, the book, the steps, the broken elevator, and especially you, God. And God, I beg you for an open mind and a new experience with the disease, the program, the process, the book, the steps, the broken elevator, and especially you, God. And I'm so grateful to come before this meeting because somebody was able to share a message of hope for me, to spark and ignite something in me like a sparkler. That's who we are. We're a society of people that learn what my experience has taught me to be a respectable, productive member of that society. But I had to embark on step one and get a solid foundation and find out what the F I suffer from. Because I'm going to say F because I want to be respectful to this meeting. I have a foul mouth. And that's what I understand is a shortcoming, because I've been through that step. It's not a defect for me because I wasn't born cussing, I can understand the two and go to God with it to help me differentiate, because I still have a head that tells me I think I know a lot about this process sometimes when I'm not centered in the work. The ego rebuilds itself. The ego will tell me not to pray and review. The ego will tell me not to do inventory, right? The ego will tell me not to be here at all. But thank God through this process, I'm able to see my truth. And an old timer texted me this morning when I told him where I was sharing, and he said, the express elevator to recovery is broken. I must take the steps. And I love the name of this meeting because that says it all for me. I said, wow, that's poetic justice for me. Those are the rooms of recovery have given me hit the lottery with you guys. You guys are the lottery. I don't need to go out there and play games in the streets no more. I have everything I need right now. I'm overpaid, is what one of my teachers say. I'm overpaid. I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams. You better believe it. I really am. This isn't I thought you guys were all like mystical wizards and witches. It comes to find out you're just like me. But we got a way out and a way to get better. And I love page 133 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because it talks about the outside help. Bill and Bob were so masterful in writing this book, and Dr. Silkworth and the First 100, right? Nevi Thatcher and all these individuals that came together for me to tell me it's okay that I'm dual diagnosed and that somebody needs to hear that in the rooms because we do recover. Women do recover and men do recover. So I started this process of what I thought was recovery in 2015. I'm 45 years old. I've been married almost my whole life. I have 2 grown sons. One's my stepson, who I thought was my son, right? Because I'm in a delusion, big bad Yasmine, freaking full of power, full of thinking she can make choices and control for other people. But I'm over here, insane, an alcoholic. So my son is 29, my stepson and my biological only child from my body is 27 years old. And today I'm being made whole again for myself so that I can go out into the world to God's children, because those aren't my kids. I'm clear on that now. Those are God's kids, and I've done some harm. So I must tell you that's where I'm at. I'm in step 9, but I will talk to you about 1 and 2. It's such a foundation. I would have never got to 9 a day in my life without 1 and 2, So today I'm able to be there for my sons, but I wasn't able to be there for them in 2015 when I embarked on my process, who I thought I was going to go to, AA and become, I don't even know. I know a seed was planted when I was 15 in the rooms of San Pedro, California, in the garages of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. Somebody took me out there. It was my aunt who died and went to the bitter ends, died an alcoholic death, horrible death in 15. And this woman was on the search for the truth, the light and the way. And in her search, she died. And I don't believe she died for me, but I believe the impact of her death changed my life because it was an alcoholic death. I seen her days before she died. There was no hair. Her eyes were gray. Her skin was paper thin. And they were ready to tag her and bag her because they were so sick of her going in and out of the institutions and hospitals, wasting their time. So I went to my first institution right after she died because I think I know some things. I think I have power. I find out lack of power is truly my dilemma. So I swear it off, right? A head full of knowledge. I think on my fine-tuned state of mind, but I'm already crossed into that region, right? The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells me ain't no invisible line up in here. This is a region, man, where you can't get out of it. I go into triple darkness. I can't see and I can't hear anybody. And the worst part is I'm beyond human aid. No medical doctor, no Betty Ford clinic, no husband, no kid of mine was going to stop me because I can't. I have a disease of a threefold nature, mind, body, spirit. I don't know that. I think I'm a piece of crap. And the disease in my mind that overrides every other thought in my head tells me to go take myself out. So I stopped the benzodiazepines. For those of you that don't know, that's Xanax. And I stopped the alcohol that day. I'm a real benzo addict. I do not recall an alcohol and a benzo effect without the other. But alcohol was always first. That's why I say I'm an alcoholic, because the alcohol will always lead me to mood and mind altering substances. But I'm not here to talk about other mood and mind altering substances. I'm just telling you what brought me to my knees. But alcohol has always been in the forefront of my life. I drink to oblivious. I don't drink like them people order a margarita and they're freaking cool and they go get their boogie on. Not me. Oh, no, not me. I'm Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm the real one. What we call in my fellowship, the mad dog. You know, I'm here to get drunk, you know, and I'm taking prisoners with me, hostages, all that. So what ends up happening to me is I have to go into psych hospitals. And I suffer from psychoses and illusions and delusions and obsessions and particular mental twists and mental blank spots. And I'm outright mentally defective. I got hidden springs, boing, ideas all over the place, right? I'm sick. I'm outright mentally defective, you know, and I don't know what I suffer from, and I get lost in the sauce, right? It takes me 2 more years to get to 17. Well, in 15, I walk in, I see a sponsor, and I'm too chicken to ask for help. I got to go out and get that thorough beating that the alcohol gave me for 2 more years after institution, after going to the first Anaheim Lighthouse, you know, bullshitting, BSing them because I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to listen to no steps. I just want to stop the alcohol. Just get the alcohol out of me so that I can be okay, you know, and I didn't know there was a process. I didn't know that it's detox, treatment, recovery. I didn't know that. I always think I know some things because I'm a mother and I've been educated through college, you know, and my dad is college educated, all these things, right? All these things inside that I'm masking so you don't see them, and the jig is up. I can't pull it off anymore. You know, I can't anymore. So I go into another treatment facility 2 years later. I go into the same meeting. I'm doing NA and AA. They're telling me in different fellowships, I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that, but I'm willing because I know that I'm going to die. I know I'm going to walk across PCH, and I live in Moreno Valley at the time because I'm planning and plotting my death. You know, so this woman comes and talks to my husband and tells him, Yasmine needs to go to American Recovery Hospital, I think, in Pomona. She's struggling. And he says, I can't help her. I'll do anything you tell me. She's not well, and she's in a psychosis, I think. My son at this time, who has schizoaffective disorder, was going untreated, undiagnosed. Well, diagnosed, but untreated in recovery. I did not know how to help him. The best thing I did was get away from him and my family and go into the hospital. And I did, because I ran out of ideas. I surrendered, not because I'm smart, not because I'm all that in a bag of chips. Surrender. So let me speed it up. I go into this process of detox. I get out, right? I can't afford. I hit a financial bottom. I'm spiritually, I'm financially, and I'm corrupt. I've hit a bottom I never saw before because I'm married, right? All these aspects of character that I'm playing, and then I can't do it anymore because I lost my mind. It took my mind from me. So I go to, I get out of ARC and I find the rooms of recovery, and I can't afford intensive outpatient therapy, but guess where I find? the rooms of the 12-step process, AA. And they welcome me. I have no money. There's no fees or dues for membership. The only desire is to stop wanting to drink. It was enough. It was enough to take me to the next day. I found the sponsor. I got a commitment. I got a home group. I got a sponsor, and I got in the work. And we got right into the lay aside prayer. And we broke down the lay aside prayer, and she taught me what that meant. It meant for me to pause and pray. It was armor against me. It was the first armor I had against my insanity, because I gave it to God. I had instructions 25 times a day or more. Say it, Yasmine. Go to a meeting a day. I did it. I had no car, no job. My son was sick. I got him in this program, transitional age youth program. I got out of homelessness, me and my family, on Sunnymead Boulevard in Moreno Valley in a hotel. Bed bug bitten. I'm willing to go to any lengths, because I know it's not just me, it's the family afterwards. 2, I have this boy looking at me, lost. The fellowship saved my butt. This fellowship gave me a way out, a design for living today. So we crack open the book. I get the lay aside memorized, and she takes me to the blank page. She was blank when we opened it up. And I had to write, God, please show me the truth about the physical allergy. God, please show me the truth about the obsessions of my mind. And God, help me fully concede to my innermost self the truth about me and alcohol. Then I open up the book and I get my prescription. And I told you Pharma was a part of my story. She tells me it's my prescription. And I began to believe. The lay aside was giving me something that I never had. It was a relationship. It was a relationship. A muscle was building, a spiritual foundation was happening, and I was able to embark on the promises. And I wrote it, the promises of, I'm like these people, and I do exactly what they have done. I too can recover. I was like, yes, give it to me, lady. I need it. I need the spiritual hit. I need the spiritual drink. I'm dead. I find out that I have to do unity, recovery, and service. What does that mean? That means I have to go to meetings to treat the physical allergy. You know, I find out about 36 spiritual principles that I get to live by. But how do I do that? I must treat the body. And to leave out the body of the alcoholic and think it's just the mind is incomplete. So I understand why we read the seven traditions, or the 12 traditions are for the body, right? It's treat the craving. Then right here, I come down to recovery, which holds up the other 2 portions. And that's where I treat my mind, where my disease centers in. I have a disease that centers in my mind, meaning my thinking is distorted. How do I treat that? I take it through the 12-step recovery process as outlined in the big book. The 12 steps treat my crazy obsession, right? Then I drop over here to service, which is my favorite portion. I don't know about you guys, but service has saved my booty, patootie, okay? And what service is it treats my awakened spirit, right? It gets me out of me, the spiritual malady. Selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, full of fear, full of blame, full of fault, full of control, full of not getting what I want, you not saying what I want you to say. That treats the malady. So I can give it away. Maximum service is sponsorship and sharing. Until I can do that, man, I took a chip commitment. I took a GSR. I've been Unity chairwoman for 5 years. That's because God did that for me. He put me in the middle of the herd so I wouldn't get picked off. And I became willing. I learned to read and write in the rooms. I learned how to type an email again. I lost my morals and my values. I lost my way. It's giving me a design today where I'm amazed before we are halfway through, right? That's what the promises tell me. It's the truth. So I find out that I get to be whole again, a whole woman one day, that God is going to make me whole. See, the triangle is in the middle of the circle. What does the circle mean? The circle's God. The circle's God. That means that one day I will not be dominated by the cravings of my body, right? The obsessions of my mind, or the sick emotions of my sick spirit. I find out that there's no cure for this thing, that I must work on the daily reprieve. contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. What does that mean? Take the instructions that the sponsor gives me. Stop trying to remix it. Stop trying to control. Surrender. Surrender everything you think you know, Yasmine. So then I go in, right? And I get to the doctor's opinion. Well, we go through the preface and we go to forward to the first, second, third, and fourth. That my sponsor said I needed to know AA history. I needed to understand it, right? And I did. I started to understand and comprehend. I find out that she does not monopolize on my recovery, meaning she don't own or control it. She can't care more about my recovery than I can. So when my sponsees say, you didn't call me. And I said, I chased after the drink. Didn't you? Chase after your recovery. I did. When my sponsor didn't have a date on calendar for me, I'm over here like, let's get a date. You got a date? I need it. Let's put it on calendar. I need my recovery, and she was willing to give it to me. So we kept going, and I find out that the first half of the first step one is the admission of powerless over alcohol. Physically, can I control my bodily reaction to alcohol once I start? See, I got to turn statements into questions where I got to diagnose myself because nobody could tell me I'm an alcoholic. My experiences are my best teachers today. Always have been and always will. So we turn statements into questions. I start to personalize the book to me, right? I find out that I'm restless, irritable, and discontented. What does that mean? That means if I'm not doing unity, recovery, and service, I will drink again, period. Right? It's a disease of a threefold nature, mind, body, spirit. I got to treat each one. I already told you how to treat it, how I did. I went to meetings. I met with my sponsor, and I got into service, and I have not stopped. I'm on fire. I'm on fire for what God has done for me. And the most important person at this meeting is the new man and woman that has yet to find the answer. That's my purpose. I don't care if I go to a meeting, people say, oh, why are you saying all that? I know that. Well, that's good that you know that. But there's someone in here sick and suffering that may not have the answer because somebody did that for me. They talked to me in the meetings, the new woman, So I choose to incorporate that in my shares. So I find out that, really, the most contributing factor to keeping me alive is the altruistic movement. I didn't even know what altruism meant. I'm over here thinking I'm smart, and I got a broken brain. I need a brainwash. I need these old ideas and these old thought process to get out of here for me to be able to embark on this spiritual path, right? Because it finds out to be much more than I ever expected. And then I find out that I must give it away, but I don't have anything to give away. So I continue to just be of service. Willingness, honesty, and God produces humility because I can't produce humility on my own. I must be humble through demonstrations as a trusted servant and other walks in my life that have given me a playpen. That's what the fellowship has done. It has allowed me to learn how to act with people because I don't know how to act. I act like a slaughter gang CEO. Then when you take my alcohol away from me, I become, what I consider weak, a punk. That can't happen. But you don't know, I was violent towards the end, Anyway, so I find out about this recreation of life that I get two lifestyles in one, right? But I must continue to work. That there's not just doing recovery over here and straddling the fence and, finding the softer, easier way. No, when I embraced this where I'm at, I ran out of ideas. So I was willing to believe that my sponsor believed. So I continued to move on, and I found out that I must have a psychic change. What does that mean? That means a mental change. But in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it is a spiritual change in order for me to recover. And I don't know how to be spiritual because I'm agnostic and I don't know what that means quite yet. So I keep going. I find out the solution is God in the steps, and I find out, am I convinced that I am physically allergic to alcohol? Am I convinced that I'm powerless over alcohol? See, I got to go home after meeting with the sponsor and I got to pray and review and ask myself these questions and continue to meet with her once a week. Then we get into Bill's story and it starts to open up my mind more because I drink just like Bill, and she tells me, Yasmine, look for the similarities, not the differences when someone's sharing. Think for the thinking, the feeling patterns, the using. Those three things, if you can identify with the speaker, then you might be in the right place, right? If you're new. So I continue to read and realize and learn to read, right? Because my brain is being rebooted. I was very brain damaged when I came into the rooms. I was that shaking, shivering, nervous wreck that the book talks about. And now I'm brimming over in a newfound self-confidence through God, not through the egoism, right? So I'm learning that. I still learn about that. So here I go. I continue to find out more about me, right? More about my fear, more about why I drink. And I drink really because of the effects produced. I love it. I mean, it's like I'd be lying to say I don't love it. I mean, I'm an alcoholic, right? But I can't manage my life anymore, and that's a fact. And right here on page 14, in my first step, it says, for an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge her or his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. You better believe it, because I have walked through some storms, through some adversities. My son almost passed away in 2019. I sat there, and you know what I did? I wrote in my fourth step in my third column. And I exercised, and I continued to do low carb, no sugar, which I've done since the 9th month of my sobriety, which has given me a newfound spirituality with my God of my own understanding through fasting, through water drinking. I suffer from bulimia before embarking on the steps, overeating and undereating. I don't live like that today. I have a way out. My nutrition is just as important as my recovery. That's me, though. That's what I do to stay alive and to continue to give it away, right? And to be an example and to show my sponsees that there's more ways, that we get better. So, and I like to share that, I don't keep things to myself today and try to be better. That's what this program has taught me, that to give it away is the most incredible part of what we do, right? Because we get fed through the sponsee as well. So here I go. Am I as hopeless as Bill? I asked myself that question, and I am. Then I get to page 18, which I love, which gives me the qualifications of the sponsor. So I understand what my sponsor's here to do. Take me through the work. There's 3 qualifications for sponsorship, right? Living the program of recovery. Well, first, ex-drinker, problem drinker. I mean, it takes one alcoholic to help another alcoholic. Shoot, if there's a psychiatrist or some other, I'll friggin' manipulate the hell out of that person, right? I can't get that. It's like, it don't work like that with the real one, right? So ex-problem drinker, then living the process of recovery, and properly armed with facts about themselves. See, my sponsor isn't there for my finances, to tell me how to be married, tell me how to get with Drew on this and Nathan and all. No, she's there to take me through the work. And when I call her about real life, because that's what happens, she's able to take me right back to the work. But guess what? I don't have the same sponsor. You know why? Because my sponsor took a drink. I walked through that. Guess what? Grand sponsor picked me up. Now we're sponsee sisters. Just happened not that long ago. You know why? I'm so grateful for that sponsor, because she led me to a God of my own understanding today that's solving all my problems. Remember I told you I'm beyond human aid. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the first sponsor, giving me those instructions. She said, Yasmine, call on lay aside. Then call on lay aside again. If you're still messed up, call me. But call God. I might go take a hit. I might go take a drink. Best instruction she gave me, because I relied on God, not on the sponsor. I'm beyond human aid, right? The sponsor for me is just a spiritual teacher of spiritual welfare. So here I go. I find out there's 3 types of drinkers: the moderate, the hard, and the real one, right? Who am I? Well, I definitely know I ain't no dang moderate drinker. Those are those weirdo people that go into dang Chili's or Steer and Stein, and they're like, can I have a beer or a margarita? And then they drink it, and then they eat their nachos and their egg rolls, and they pay the check. And I guess they go home and read the Bible. I don't know. Not me. Can't identify. So then there's the hard drinker, right? The hard drinker sometimes looks like the real drinker, but with sufficient circumstances, they can stop and say so. Like my grandfather. He had open heart surgery. They said he was a raving alcoholic. Got the open heart surgery, got the pacemaker, never hit the bottle again. Done. Completely done. That is the hard. With sufficient circumstance, they get pregnant, their husband or wife's going to leave them, whatever. They have a heart attack. They're done. It's like, oh, that's it, man. But then there's the real one, right? The real alcoholic. The one that drinks no matter what. The one that once they put it in, they lose all power, choice, and control. If they lose one, then they lose all three. I know I do. I can't drink anymore. I lost the power to control my drinking consumption. I can never go back. And until I'm able to fully concede to my innermost self that I cannot, then I will drink again. That's just the way it works for me, right? So then I find out all these things, right? And I get to step 1, which is on page 30. See, I didn't get out of laicide, meaning I couldn't share. Those were the instructions. And the reason why, because the book says we want to hear from people that are working with others, who have fully done the work. Because if I'm over here talking about what it was like, where's the solution? See, I came from a lineage that told me, if you ain't got a solution, sit down. If you can't follow it up with where you took it in the work, sit down. Because there might be some untreated alcoholism going on. You may not have a balance. See, the people in my fellowship cared more about my life than my feelings. And I'm grateful because I'm a mad dog. I needed it like that. Not everybody does. That's why, you get where you feeling it, we don't monopolize. So here I go. I find out that I had to learn that I had to fully concede to my innermost self that I was a real alcoholic. This is the first step of recovery. The delusion that I am like other people, or presently maybe, has to be smashed, right? It has to be smashed. So here I go. I continue to read more about alcoholism. I'm identifying all over the place. I identify with a jaywalker. That's me. Outright mentally defective all day long, doing things that with insanity, repeating the same behavior over and over, expecting different results, and then, slaying people along the way, becoming someone I could no longer identify with. So then here I go to step 2, right? I find out that the unmanageability is truly within Yasmine. What does that mean, Yasmine, to myself? Because this is personalized to me. That's why I'm sharing my experience, strength, and hope, right? So I find out, first of all, that I'm an agnostic. I find out what the difference of agnostic and atheism is, because agnostic is believing that God can be out there and work for you, but it ain't going to work for me. An atheist is straight up, I don't believe in God. I identified as agnostic. And the reason why I identified, I believe, as an agnostic, because I'm spiritually dead. What does that mean? That means I am God. And I'm running the show, but I'm insane. So I find out lack of power. That was my dilemma. I had to find a power which I could live. And it had to be a power greater than myself, obviously. But where and how would I find this power? I go to page 55 because the book is so written so on the bomb.com, right? So I go to page 55 and I find out the answer. Actually, I was fooling myself. For deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be obscured by calamity, by pomp, by worship, or other things. But in some form or another, it's there. For faith in a power greater than ourselves and miraculous demonstrations of that power in human lives are facts as old as man himself. We finally saw that faith in some kind of God was a part of our makeup just as much as a feeling we had for a friend. Sometimes we had to search fearlessly, but he was there. He was as much a fact as we were. We found the great reality deep down within us. In this analysis, it is only there that he may be found. It was so with us. And I began to really believe because my life started to change. My sanity started to be restored. My son seemed to be getting better. My husband started to have a new footing on life. They say in the big book, what is good for the wife is good for the husband. What is good for the husband is good for the wife. And this has advantages for all, right? But my actions must speak louder than my words. To this very day, the basics don't change, no matter how much time I have. I still have to be this willing and this, I have to believe. I have to believe through practical application, through the moving through life in this process. and seeing the miracles transpire, and they are transpiring, and they have been from Jump Street, and I find out that God has always been with me. I've just been suffering from a self-imposed crisis that only a spiritual experience can save me. Thank you, God, for my darkest past, because it's my greatest possession in helping another woman or man, if God sees fit for me to sponsor, because there's no monopoly, right? So I continue to do the work. I continue at a year and 11 months, I get the keys to my home I'm in now, by the grace of God. Again, my sobriety date, 3/23/2017. And then I come in and how it works. And that's chapter 5 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's page 58. And I find out that rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. That I have to have a spiritual experience. That's what I wrote in my book. If I want to recover, right? Today, drugs and alcohol don't dominate, or alcohol does not dominate my life. It's a bedevilment. It's the problems afterwards, right? The lack of maturity, the wanting what I want when I want it, when you don't love me the way I want you to love me, right? When you don't do what I want you to do. So before I find out about all that, I find out that it works. It really works. The steps are directions on how I recover, precise. I can't do one without the other. I can't skip and half step. I've been doing that my whole life. Being an actress, wanting to be who you want me to be. Today, I'm finding out who I really am. And I found that in the steps. I'm learning to love myself. I never loved myself. I'm forgiving myself today, so that I can be of maximum service to my sponsees and the next one, right? Because one of my mentors and my spiritual guides, he says, Yasmine, don't be surprised when they go. Be surprised when they stay. Because that's what we do. A lot of us have to go back out, right? But you keep doing what you're doing, because keeping yourself spiritually maintenance, if they ever do decide to come back, take them through the work, right? That's what I do for my sponsor. If I want to really do something for her and honor her, what she's done for me, I'd be willing to put my hand out and say, welcome. I'll take you. I'll help you. But I'm not here to mess around. This is life or death. You do the steps or you die. That's it. You don't want to listen to me? There's another sponsor out there. But I'm not playing games with this stuff, because this is real life. So I find out that these steps can help me, and this is progress, never perfection, right? And the disease is still cunning, baffling, and powerful, and then it comes to this portion of the book, which I love, and it's where page 60, where the second step ends. But it says right here, many of us explain, what an order. I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, which is the truth, that I am an alcoholic and could not manage my own life. B, which is the light, that probably no human power could have relieved my alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought. And my life began to change in a way that only the process is outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and those that you have experienced can understand what I'm saying, because it has revolutionized my life. Today, I'm currently in step 9. I'm going to any lengths for victory over alcoholism, because it will kill me. I must complete step 9, or from what I know, my own experiences, I will go back. I will go back. I must right my wrongs to those that I've hurt in my alcoholism. and while sobriety and everything in between, right? Because God revealed to me what I need, who I need to put down on that list, because that was 8, made a list of those that I had harmed and became willing to make an amends to them, except when to do so would injure them or others. And now I'm at 9, where it's an action step. 4 through 9 is action. I didn't talk about action because I talked about 1 and 2, which gave me the ability to go to 3, where I was able to really, really understand that God is everything or God is nothing. And it still rings true today. God is everything or God is nothing today. The basics don't change. So I've had some really great amends experiences. I have a baby mama. My husband had a child, like I said, my stepson, and I never thought I would be able to sit across from this woman a day in my life. And I was able to, by the grace of God. And the process is outlined. And tell her that I was sorry for hurting her. And we were end up having a 3-hour conversation, like 2 grown adults, women that have children by the same father. And she's a white girl and I'm Mexican. And we got to talk about that and how that affected us as mothers and as women, period. And that has been, and that has given me the power to make the next amends. Right after here, I'll log off and I'll be making my way to Claremont to make another amends direct to my cousin. I've been able to make amends to my husband, who I've been with since I was 16 years old, and he's a normie. That's all I'll say about that. And my sons, my older son, he doesn't want to meet with me, but that's okay. Because when I met with his mother, she was able to direct me to the Stater Brothers that he worked at. I hadn't seen my boy in over a year. And he was born blind. He has nystagmus, but he can see. And he made the job requirements, because I used to be a workers' compensation counselor once upon a time. So I do know about work requirements, and he met the work requirements as a butcher because he can see close, just can't see far. And I got to put some money in his account, and I got to put my arms around him, and he's suffering from what appears like alcoholism. But I'm powerless over that. I'm still powerless. That was the first step experience, in the 9th step is I'm still powerless over people, places, and things. And every time I start to obsess on those things, my life becomes unmanageable. So I must continue to do the work. I must continue to work and to look at step 9 and be honest with my sponsor and have her review all my things in my inventory, make sure everything's up to date, because I'm still a liar. And I'm still dishonest. But the God conscious in the crap too long anymore, because I can't. There's a solution. There's a solution. And sometimes it's just, God help me, and it doesn't have to be a big old exaggerated prayer, but I want to get all technical and I want to get all difficult because this is a simple program for complicated people. So I'm like, I must say my 3rd step prayer. I must say my, fear prayer, and then my 7th step prayer. And then, it's like, no, Yasmine, that's one more time the disease, coming in, because it's still, my ego rebuilds itself. I say that when I go to sleep, it rebuilds itself in the morning. Because it's telling me, the committee in my head is telling me all kinds of stuff, right? But like I told you guys, I pause, I pray, I thank God for my life. I thank Him for waking me up today, because I was saved to help somebody else. That's what we get to do. We're an exodus of movement, of a society of people, moving towards a light, towards a better way. And we take animals with us, and the elderly and the children. I'm learning about how to work with others. What a gift Bill and Bob laid out for me. What a gift they gave me to give it away. I have the most incredible women I'm working with. Whether they stay or not, there's always a new woman waiting in the wings for me. always, always. But until then, I'm invested. I'm there. When they don't show up, guess who's at Gus Jr.? I am. I get to pray and review. I get to take that hour and a half that I get to sit with a sponsee, and I get to take that and I get to give it to myself because I may need it. God may have set that up right on time for me. He always does. It's the God timing. It's trusting God, cleaning house. That means continue to do my inventory, right? And work with others. I must continue to work with others, and the experience it's given me has helped me become a better mother, a better listener, more open-minded to understanding different complexities of life that I didn't experience, but relating my experiences to theirs. But it's spiritual. It's not intellect. I thought this was about getting the information, right? And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, but the information won't hold me. I must continue to seek. And that's why I love this program. Because the book says as long as we seek, as long as we're seeking a higher power greater than ourselves, we're recovering. We're getting to another place because we're laying down what we think we know and we're trusting God, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for this group continuing to be of service to the alcoholic that still suffers. I'm so grateful to the process, because it's giving me a home now. See, I've been a homeowner before. I've lost all those things, storages, money, property, and prestige, right? But today, God is present, and it's a home. It's not a house anymore. It's a home. My son, he has hard time with his memory, right? ADLs, basic ADLs, to hydrate, loses track of, bathing time. I have to help him understand what's going on. It's very severe. He has it. ADHD, it's so complex in his brain. And the severity of it that he lost executive functioning. So I'm now moving into conservatorship. I'm his in-home supportive service provider. I make sure he has all of his needs met to the fullest and then some. I was able to take my son to the San Bernardino Raceway because he can't drive. But God put a solution. And he says, take him to the raceway so he could feel like a man, so he could feel like he's moving in the direction he would like to move in. And it empowers him. So God did that for me, the God consciousness. And me and Andrew have been doing that and his dad for now a year. I get to go to a convention in Palm Springs with other women who are just like me. And we get to trudge a road of happy destiny together, because there's not a road to happy destiny. It's a road of happy destiny, right? That's what the big book tells me. So I'm just, I when someone starts to challenge me, I have a teacher that says, don't get mad at me, get mad at the book, because that's what we go by, the book, And it's so funny because it makes me laugh. It makes me chuckle every time, because whenever I want to fight the process, his voice comes into my head. It's like, don't get mad at me, get mad at the book, right? But how can I get mad at this book? It's giving me a life that, it's giving me 2 lifestyles in one. Who gets that? Who gets that? A real alcoholic does. That embraces this process. So I hope I said something that helped somebody today. I hope that I was able to just share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys and let you know that we do recover, and I can't wait to come back and share again where I'm at and get into the milk and honey, right? The 10, 11, and 12. I'm not there yet, but I am willing to do this amends, and I have another amends on scheduled for tomorrow. I actually got to go back out there, but I'm willing. So thank you for letting me share.